I think Broussard was a little critical of him. All right, Chris, it's honesty time. Are you surprised how good he is?
I'll tell you where I was, Colin. I was comparing him. Well, let me say it this way. I didn't go full on guaranteed to become the GOAT like you did. All right. I didn't go that far. All right. But I compared him to Charles Barkley. I think he's the new age version of Charles Barkley. A little bit Larry Johnson, but I love the Barkley comparison.
Yeah.
I felt it then when he was drafted, and I feel it now. I think his skills, his jump shot will improve to the point, Barkley didn't come into the league shooting that way.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be able to shoot it better in the years to come. Obviously, he's got the power and the explosiveness of Barkley. What he doesn't do well, that Barkley always did well, is rebound.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Zion can't rebound. For him to average 6 boards a game is a disappointment. But he looks great. I like the fact that he's on the All-Star team. I wouldn't have thrown a hissy fit had he not made it. But I like that he's there. He'll be there the next 10 years or so if he stays healthy. And what I like, too, Colin, is that Stan Van Gundy is putting the ball in his hands.
Yes.
Now, I don't want him to become LeBron James. I don't want him to have the ball in his hands all the time. He's not that level of player. But for that to happen sometimes, for him to, move without the basketball, be around the paint and cutting and slashing and getting easy buckets, all of that is great. And they've actually taken off since the ball's been in his hands a little more. They've won 7 of their last 12, which is very good for them. So I like what I'm seeing from Zion, but he's got to improve in a lot of other ways. The outside shot, the rebounding, and obviously the defense. But he's a young kid. I'm not going to hold that against him.
By the way, there's a piece of video here we show. It's very quick when he drives the lane against, I think it's the Philadelphia 76ers, and he puts a shoulder into a member of the Sixers, and a 6'6" defender literally flies to the floor. He initiates so much power and so much contact.
He's playing well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold the winning. People are holding, they're not winning. How well can he be playing? LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years.
That's right.
Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. And they obviously were balling. So you get a grace period as a young guy.
Sure.
You really do. Unless you come in and play with a superstar like Kobe with Shaq, Magic with Kareem. Otherwise, you get a grace period to win.
All right, so there's a lot of arguments today about the Celtics and Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. And I've been saying this. Joy and I talked about this. We have a condensed schedule, and it's really not benefiting a team like Boston. Boston has to play a certain way. Boston needs extra. They're very tactical. They need the extra day of practice and film study. And they've dealt with some injuries. So this kind of talented Boston team that basically this condensed schedule is taking out a lot of coaching. That it's just like go out, guys, and play. You play, you fly overnight, you land, you get a shoot around, and you play. And I don't think they got to the finals last year, Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think it's Brad Stevens. I think this condensed schedule is benefiting some teams, and I think it really hurts the Celtics and Brad Stevens. That's my take.
Somewhat. I mean, look, obviously coaching has made a difference in Philly. Doc Rivers is doing a great job there. I heard what you said earlier about Quinn Snyder and these guys being in the system. But Quinn Snyder's doing a great job of coaching. I mean, that team, he's the coach of the year for me right now by a mile. So I think coaching is still having an impact. And Brad Stevens, anybody that says he's not a good coach just isn't watching the game. So he is definitely a good coach. There's no doubt about it. And he's earned the right to be able to work through this tough period. And it's tough. They've gone 7-14, Colin, over their last 21 games. I mean, but here's the question about Brad Stevens. Can he handle Ferraris?
Yeah.
He's the guy that makes the most out of a Honda Accord. Like at Butler, at Butler, you're not getting blue chippers.
Yeah.
You're not getting the guys with the egos and all the hangers on that are going to the pros. And Boston, they had a lot of guys that fit that Brad Stevens mold early.
Yeah.
Kyrie gets there, and he can't handle him. All right, now Tatum and Jaylen Brown are growing into superstars, Now, they came up under Stevens, so I would think it'd be a little different. But right now, he's struggling with those. I'm not saying there's a beef between those guys, but having two All-Stars, Colin, they got two All-Stars, and they're below 500, and that's a problem. So that's the thing to watch. There are coaches in the NBA that can maximize so-so talent. Kenny Atkinson, when he was in Brooklyn, right? I mean, you got these role players, and they're playing hard, and they're gutting it out, and they're beating teams they shouldn't beat, and they're 42-40, and you go to that, wow, that guy can coach. But then you give him some real talent that could win a championship or come close, and he struggles with it because he overcoaches.
Right.
And so that's the thing to watch with Brad. Again, he's earned the right to work through this, but going forward, that's something to keep an eye on.
If you had a coworker and the coworker missed 1 day of work a week, you work with Rob Parker on your radio show, and once a week, Parker called up and said, I got a bad back or a laryngitis, you would think to yourself, I like him, but he's not terribly dependable. Anthony Davis has missed 20% of his games in the NBA. Okay? Once again, he's nowhere to be found. And I do wonder, he signed a 5-year contract for a reason. Could I make this argument, Chris? Last year, the pandemic benefited one team, the Lakers. Their old star got a 4-month break, and their brittle star got a 4-month break. And then they're not going to get that. There's no proof that Anthony Davis can give you 82 games in a playoff run healthy. And last year, as awful as the pandemic is, it was a little bit of a hiatus break for the Lakers for older LeBron and brittle AD. And I look at him and I think, this is exactly what he is, watching the game in a nice sweater. This is what I've seen most of his career.
Well, first of all, on the Rob Parker thing, I mean, working with Rob Parker every day, that actually sounds pretty favorable if he took a day off per week. I wouldn't frown at that, no. But, no, look, Colin, you make a point about Anthony Davis that's undeniable. Last year was the aberration. And I don't know if he was trying to impress LeBron or what, but it was good. LeBron sets a tone. He sets a standard. And Anthony Davis felt compelled to live up to it. He was playing through little nicks and knacks and bruises and bumps that we've never seen him play through, and it was great. But this year he's kind of back now, and Achilles is nothing to mess around with, but he does seem like he's falling back into his old habits. So what I'm saying, Colin, is that Anthony Davis, not during this 5 weeks, whatever it is that he'll be off, he not only needs to get himself right physically, but he needs to do some soul searching mentally.
Yes.
Because this was the year he was coming off that championship. He was supposed to be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning of the year, I think ESPN had him the second best player in the league, which was ridiculous, but still, that's what people were expecting. And I thought there'd be a natural passing of the torch from LeBron to AD. It's your team now. Take us to the promised land. And AD just hasn't done it. He's fallen off in points, rebounding, blocks, free throw attempts. He's even gone from being an 80% career foul shooter to 71% this year. So there's something going on in terms of his motivation, mentally, whatever it is. But I want him, if I'm a Lakers fan, I want him coming back in 4 weeks with his game face on and bulldozing people over the next, 2 months of the season. So it is something to watch with AD. There's no doubt about it.
Chris Broussard, Fox Sports NBA analyst. Good talking to you, bud. Loved it.
All right, my man. Peace.
Good stuff. Good talk. Yeah, the thing about Anthony Davis, it's not just the injuries. He really got off to a bad start this year. So he was down on everything, down in his shooting. And, it's something to think about. Some guys, we talk about this, some guys are just not built for that pressure. They love coming to the arena. Like Kobe Bryant always wanted to be the man. He didn't want to be the only man, but he wanted to be the man. He drove to the arena every night, and it was like, this is my team. Anthony Davis has never been that guy. Anthony is very comfortable being like a really highly compensated two. And that doesn't mean he's not an all-time great, but this was the year, the passing of the baton, and as Chris said, emotionally, he's telling you, he didn't really want it. This is not what he wants. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.